Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I want you to think of a goal that you have. I want you to look into the future. What's your dream life look like, you graduating class of 2019? What does it look like 5 years from now? What does it look like 10 years from now? And get that image in your mind and repeat after me. Everyone say, it's possible.
It's possible.
I want to talk to you about possibilities for just a few minutes. Your future is bright. There is greatness in this room. I can feel it. There's a special spirit here today. It's awesome. And you know what I have found about in life is that at some point in everyone's life, we all want to be somebody. We want to achieve something. And I know that's true for this graduating class. It takes a special person, a special hunger to achieve your dreams and your goals. But I stand here before you today to remind you that your goals and dreams are possible. So today, in a few minutes that I have with you, I thought I would just share with you 3 principles as you set out on a new path, a new adventure, a new journey to achieve your goals and your dreams. And the first principle is this: believe in yourselves. If there's anything I can leave with you, it is to believe that you have capability, that you have potential. Much of that is still unrealized. Although we saw a lot of those talents and strengths up here on the stage today, your future is bright. And you know what's great about life? It doesn't matter where you come from, it's where you go. Tell you a little personal story. When I was in first grade, I was held back a year. By the time I got to 4th grade, they would pull me out of social studies class and put me into special resources because I couldn't read. And in those early years, I adopted the belief system that I could not read, so why even try? I had a brother that could read a lot of books, and I tried, and it was very difficult, so I gave up. I thought you're either born with the ability to read or you're not. And if you're not born with it, you might as well not even try. And then my world changed. I was 15 years old when I walked in my parents' bedroom, and I noticed on my father's dresser a tape, a cassette tape. Have you younger folks in here ever seen one of these before? So this tape was sitting on my father's dresser. And the home I came from was rich in terms of love, but there were 8 kids in my family, and finances were often tight. And I noticed this tape that someone had given my father. And on one side, in my dad's handwriting, it said, "The day that turned my life around." And on the other side, it said, "How to live financially independent." As a 15-year-old boy, I looked at that tape. I put it in my pocket. I then put that tape upstairs in my bedroom that first night into a Walkman. How many of you have ever heard of a Walkman before? In this crazy world of iPhones and iPads and so forth. I tell you what, I put this tape in that night. I closed the tape player. I put the headphones on, and I laid in my bed that night, and I was blown away. A man was speaking on the tape. It was a motivational tape. And he would say things like, "You can choose your own destiny. It doesn't matter where you come from. Your future is bright if you will manage and master your thinking, if you will believe in yourself." And then he said, "All leaders are readers." Now, I didn't like to hear that. But it dripped on me. You know how ideas kind of drip on you over time? All of a sudden, I thought, if it's true that all leaders are readers, and then he said, If you don't read, you get rickets of the mind. And in America, the average adult reads one book a year. I heard these messages, and although it was hard, I also heard the message of that great poem, Invictus, that I opened up with. It was Ernest Henley that wrote that poem in his darkest moment. He was in the Royal Infirmary when he lost his left leg to tuberculosis, and he was about to lose his right leg to the same disease when he wrote that great poem about believing in yourself, about persevering even when it's hard. So I took that message that I heard on that tape, and by my junior year of high school, I read my first book. It took me 6 months to read. It was called The Adventure of Leadership by Hap Klopp, the founder of the North Face Company. I bought it for $3.75, and that was the beginning of a process that would change my life. My message to you is this: no matter what difficulties anyone in this room has come from, it does not have to equal your future. And part of that believing in yourself is going to require you to master your thinking. Let me give you another example. Several years ago, I was trying to lose weight. Don't look at me too close. I was trying to lose weight, and I was doing good for a week. I was eating organic food. My wife was really proud of me. And then I walk into the grocery store, and this voice comes in my head and says, TJ, you should buy yourself a donut. I think to myself, I don't want to buy a donut. I've been doing good all week. Why would I ruin it now? And the voice comes back and says, yes, you've been doing good all week. You deserve a donut. And because human beings are more rationalizing than they are rational, what do you think I did? I went over to the donut section. I picked up my glazed donut, and I thought to myself as I picked it up, TJ, you are a man of discipline. You can take one bite and discard the rest. I knew I could do this. So I go get the donut, put it in a bag. I go to the front registers to pay for my groceries. We go out to the car. I put the groceries in the back. I take the bag with the donut in it. I sit in the driver's seat. I put my seatbelt on. I turn on the car. I turn on the radio. Rocky was playing. And I thought, one bite. I pick up that donut. I think to myself, TJ, you are a man of discipline. One bite. So I did what everyone else in this room would have done. I opened my mouth as big as I could, and I shoved that whole donut in. And in one bite, that donut was gone. Woo! Let me tell you something. In life, as you set out to your new adventure, your dream life that you're going to achieve, if you'll persevere and believe in yourself, at some point you're going to have to stand up inside yourself and say, shut up. Because there's that voice in every single one of us that will whisper to us to say, you can't do that. You don't have the talent. Mom and dad never went to college. You don't have the resources. Who do you think you are? And you've got to stand up to that voice and say, I'm not going to hear that. In the social media world that we live in today, stand up to the haters. Inside, you don't have to accept that drama. Believe in yourself. That's principle number one. Principle number two is your decisions will determine your destiny. Decisions determine direction, which determine your destination. Let me tell you another fun story. In that book by Hap Klopp, The Adventure of Leadership, Hap Klopp, the founder of the North Face, has since become a friend of mine. Years ago, he told the story about Jim Whittaker. I don't know if you recognize the name Jim Whittaker. They're from the Northwest, him and his brother Lou. But Jim Whittaker was the first American to summit Mount Everest. While they were known in the Northwest for taking people on expeditions up mountains like Mount Rainier or Mount McKinley and so forth. Well, at one point, they took a group of people up Mount McKinley. They were up about 14,000 feet. They were all roped together. Jim Whittaker and his brother was leading this crew when one of the men fell through a crevasse and broke his leg. They're stuck up in the mountain all by themselves. They've got to get help. What do? They radio in for a jet helicopter because a jet helicopter will do better in the high altitudes in the thin air. But guess what? The jet helicopter was being used on another rescue. So they radioed in for a standard helicopter, which didn't do as well in those higher altitudes. That helicopter came in, it landed on the side of that mountain. They took this 170-pound man, put him on the helicopter, and the helicopter could not lift off. What do? You've got to get this man off the mountain immediately. Lou and Jim listen to their heart. They get on both sides of the helicopter. They pick the helicopter up by both rails on both sides of the helicopter, and as the story goes, they heaved it off the edge of the mountain. That helicopter fell like a rock through thin air. Let me just pause here. Imagine if you were the guy with the broken leg inside the helicopter being thrown off the mountain. Wait a minute, let's think a little deeper about this. Imagine if you were the pilot. How crazy would that be? Well, let me tell you. The helicopter went off into the horizon and to the hospital. And it just so happened that a couple months later, Hap Klopp was visiting with Jim Whittaker, and he said, talking about decisions, he said, "Jim, how did you know that that was going to work?" And Jim responded by saying this: "Sometimes you just know." My message to you in making decisions is follow your heart. Pause, slow down, listen to your conscience, and you'll be directed. Now, here's the tough thing about life. There's usually an easier wrong and a harder right. And so it's tough to make decisions. And sometimes it's even more difficult when you have two good decisions to make. So what do? As you go off to your different destinations that you're moving toward, here's a little advice I have about making decisions. Several years ago, I was listening to another set of tapes. When I noticed at the bottom of the tape, there was a 1-800 number at the bottom. It was 11 o'clock at night. My family was in bed. As I was listening to one of the tapes, I noticed the other 3 tapes that were in the set down on the desk. And I noticed the phone number, and this voice inside me said, "TJ, you should call the phone number." I'm thinking to myself, why would I call the phone number? These tapes are really old. There's no way that phone number connects anywhere. But the voice came back. It said, "TJ, call the phone number." It's 11 o'clock at night. I thought, hey, can't do much damage. I'll go ahead and call. I dialed the phone number. It rings and it rings and it rings. Just as I was getting ready to hang up the phone, this voice came on the other line, and the voice said, "Who is this?" I said, "Well, who's this?" And the man on the other line said, "This is Charlie Tremendous Jones." You see, the tape I was listening to was a man by the name of Charlie Tremendous Jones. And that night, we visited for 45 minutes, and I was at a place where I'd started a company that was doing well, but I had a young family at the time. But what I really wanted to do was my dream of speaking and consulting and so forth. This is over 20 years ago. And I said, "Mr. Jones, I don't know what to do. Can I explain a scenario to you?" And he said, "Sure. Could you give me your advice?" I said, "I don't know if I should go this way, and I don't know if I should or go this way." And that night, Charlie Tremendous Jones, he was in his 80s, said to me, "TJ, you were not born to make right or wrong decisions. You were born to make decisions and then make them right." Let me say that again. You were not born to make right or wrong decisions. You were born to make decisions and then make them right. That's not to say that there's not right or wrong decisions in life, because there are. But many people don't make any decision at all because they're paralyzed, because they're scared, because they don't know what the end result will look like. And I tell you to trust it. Trust that when you're not sure about the right decision, adjust it as need be. Make a decision, and if you need to adjust it, be quick to adjust while following your heart. That's principle number 2. Decisions will determine your destiny. The last principle is this: seek to serve. You want to live a happy and successful life? Lift those around you. A good example of this was just a few years ago here in Seattle, was the Special Olympics. There was a group of young men, co-ed, young men and young women. They were getting ready to run the 100-meter dash. The gun went off. They started to run, when after a few steps, one of the young men tripped and fell and sat on the ground and started to cry. What do you think happened next? Without any prodding or any suggestions from anyone else, one of the runners, a girl, heard some crying behind her. She paused in the middle of the race, turned around, which caused the other runners to stop and turn around. They noticed there was this young man sitting on the ground. They went over to him to give comfort and compassion. You can hear on the video the little girl tap his head and say, "Everything will be all right." And then what did they do? They helped this young man up, and they linked arms together, and they walked through the finish line. Here's one thing about life: it's exciting to win. It really is. It's exciting to win alone, but it is more exciting to win together as a team. You graduates, your future is bright. You have greatness within you. You have abilities and potential and gifts and talents that I challenge you to believe in yourself, to be willing to step out of your comfort zone, try some things that don't come easy to you, and if you'll do them, they will in time become easier for you. Lastly, have gratitude. Think about the parents that are here. Think about the staff that is here that has put on this and for the last 4 years been working with you. Think about those in the community. If you will live a grateful life, seeking to serve others and be a force for good, you will be the benefactor of those choices. Believe in yourself, decisions matter, and seek to serve, and you will win. Thank you for having me today. This was beautiful, and may the best of your past be the worst of your future. Thank you.